Hey everyone, Andrew here with It Takes Two Takes. Special holiday message for all of you. 1, thanks for watching our upcoming review here for the finale of The Mandalorian. And 2, listen, for the last 7 episodes that we've reviewed The Mandalorian, I've taken 20 plus minute conversations down to oftentimes 10 minutes, more or less. Why do I do that? Anyone that is giving us 10 minutes of anyone's time compared to the great quality that's out there with some fantastic channels, I can't even fathom it. So it was a way of saying, I don't know that we deserve your time, but I'm going to make sure as shit that it's not going to be much of it if you choose to give it to us. But here's the thing. The average view time for our videos, at least for the Mandalorian reviews, give or take 2.5 minutes. A lot of times I spend hours trying to put these videos together, and I hope one day that pays off. I can go back and watch them and just be proud of the work that we've done and that I did from an editing standpoint. However, being the holidays and all, I can't spend hours doing that, especially when I know that the cutoff time is 2.5 minutes. So let me tell you this right now. The first 2.5 minutes of this review, superbly edited. It will be fantastic. And after that, it's international waters. I mean, anything goes. Who knows? But I'm not going to be putting amazing dank memes. They're not even that great. I'm not going to be doing this cut thing where every time we're talking, it's like this because I'm trying to cut out 45 minutes of what we're saying and down to 4.5 minutes. This is going to be raw-ish, unedited-ish, Mandalorian-ish. But the 70 of you out there watching what we're doing, we do appreciate it. It's not gone unnoticed. Enjoy the first 2.5 minutes of this. For you, I'm talking to you, average viewer. Enjoy it. Sign up for one of those subscriptions for this channel. Happy holidays. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody, Adam and Andrew here with It Takes Two Takes. We're here to review the finale, the season finale of The Mandalorian. Before I get into that, please subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment, do one of the 3, do all of the 3. Movie discussions, television discussions, reviews, reactions. That's what we do. We appreciate you watching this and we hope you check out more. That's the bottom line. This finale, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, it kicked off pretty much how we expected, I think, right? In terms of they got to get Baby Yoda, and what's the next step to get Baby Yoda? Well, to get to Moff Gideon, and they ultimately recruit Bo-Katan. She's got an interest in Moff Gideon. Mando's got an interest in Baby Yoda. So we've set the stage. We knew that was coming, right? And here we are. So as I was saying, we're now at like the 2.5 minute mark. I know you've stopped watching, most of you out there. The line has been drawn from here on out. I don't know how this is going to turn out. So if you stuck with us up to this point and you continue to do so, God love you.
You know, I figured he was going to need more than just Fett and the other 2, you know, so I wasn't surprised that they start off with recruiting Bo-Katan. So, you know, we see that there's no love loss about Fett because they flat out call out that he's a clone. So throwback to, you know, prequel. You know,
my question is, did they know that he was actually Jango Fett's son, though? You could assume he's a clone because I thought it was a nice little nod. I mean, Bo-Katan going, I know that voice. Of course, you know, she's heard that so many times, as she says, but how could she possibly know it was actually Boba Fett or Jango Fett's son? Does that mean anything?
She knew he's a clone, not just because of the voice, but I think she flat out knew he was a clone because, you know, besides the voice, she threw that right back immediately. So as soon as he said, "This is my father's armor," well, don't you mean donor? I mean, it was. Yeah. I think there's some history there that maybe will be explored, and it shows that, you know, he's not accepted as a Mandalorian, right? I think that was really what that was trying to set up, is he's not really accepted. And, you know, and then they had to obviously kidnap somebody who knew where the ship was, layout of the ship. And what I found interesting, though, when they kidnapped that scientist, was that the exchange between the pilot and Cara Dune, right? Where he's just rubbing it in her face about the Death Star destroying Alderaan. Because she's from Alderaan. Right. That was her motivation for joining up with the rebels and everything. and she tries to play it off, like when he sits there and says, I was on the Death Star, and she said, which one, type of deal. Obviously affecting her quite a bit, and apparently a laser blast right past your head has a little bit of an effect on the ear. I think that callback to Alderaan was fantastic.
We know they lived it, but it's exchanges like that remind me and kind of reinforce and make me feel like they're part of that world, and that was a really cool exchange. They ultimately, of course, move on to confront Moff Gideon. They've got their whole plan. It's not that much different than many plans we've ever heard, really, in anything, and especially in Star Wars. Hey, we're going to distract people. Mando, you go get the child. We're going to be the decoy, and we get some Stormtrooper action.
Yeah, the Stormtroopers are just fodder. I mean, they really are. They're the ones that get shot. If you see Stormtroopers in plain white armor, expect that they're going to die and get shot.
Yeah, they're just going to get mowed down, and that's what we're here for. When we see a Stormtrooper, we don't expect conflict.
It's like in the action films when you just got that random henchman that shows up, and they're going to get killed, right? The Stormtroopers are the random henchmen of the Star Wars universe, really.
They're the random henchmen, and we knew the Dark Troopers were coming. That was the end goal, and Moff Gideon, of course. And but we had fun along the way. We get to hear all those classic Stormtrooper lines and hollers and screams and them falling. I did enjoy the touch of them falling off of that bridge and just going into space. I didn't even see that coming. I was like, oh, they're in an open area. That's interesting. But yeah, so I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and they did a little bit of backstory on the Dark Troopers, right? Especially calling out that they are droids now. And that was the one they kind of said missing piece to make the Dark Troopers complete. They got rid of the human factor, which I found interesting just because there was because the prequel and the way the original trilogy has set up this dislike for droids. I did find it interesting that they build up kind of a droid army.
As Moff Gideon mentions later on, like, you saw how much Mando struggled against one, and I was satisfied with that conflict. There's no way he could have taken on two, certainly not 3 or 4 or more. They were a very real threat, and I enjoyed the Moff Gideon back and forth between Mando and the moment where he's going to get Baby Yoda, and you knew it was a whole play. You knew that it was Moff Gideon saying, oh yeah, okay, oh, you don't care about this Saber here, go ahead and take this child, go right ahead, no problem, please just leave when you exit this, or just never come back. Okay, cool. I mean, it's anything, it's it's any movie, it's Lion King, it's all that, right?
As soon as you saw Mando leave the ship, leave Slave One with the spear on his back,
mm-hmm.
and they had already said in the episode that dark saber can cut anything except that metal. It was automatically, yes, there's going to be a confrontation between Mando and Moff Gideon, and that spear is absolutely going to play a big factor in it.
When they called it out prior to him ever, when they talked about the dark sabers, the one thing that it can't penetrate or it can't cut through, pure Beskar. Oh, this thing we've been hearing about for the past 2 seasons. And he is
coated with, right? I mean, unlike some of the other Mandalorian armor that looks very, very thin and cosplayish, his armor actually looks thick and bulky and looks like it would stop a blast, where theirs looks a little bit more
they look like Power Rangers compared to him.
Right. Moff Gideon has shown himself to be an intelligent villain, so as soon as the fight started, he knew what the real objective was, right? It wasn't the saber, it was the child, right? Because again, it was telegraphed in the last episode, I'm coming for you. Now, I was waiting in this episode to see if there was some way that the attack would play into that I'm coming for him, and it didn't.
As we've mentioned, his little WWE hype, speech that he gave. The only thing I can think now, knowing what we know from this episode, being that nothing came out of it in terms of other than over preparing Moff Gideon, who needed apparently not much preparation at all. He could figure everything out if he just had a little bit, and he got a lot. We saw some positive character progression for Mando in this season, and certainly this episode. And maybe that comes with some baggage in terms of the negative that comes out of it, in that his emotions took over him. To call back to, of course, the Jedi principles and things like that. But at least with Mando, someone that is all about sticking to the objective, all about, not picking sides. You've got your creed, you've got your duty, you've got your goal and your objective, and somehow breaking out of that and getting a little ahead of himself. But at the same time, to your point, perhaps, it really didn't serve any purpose outside of that. If anything, he should have been punished for that from a plot standpoint, if nothing else. So
ultimately, he wins the fight, gets the Darksaber, doesn't kill Moff Gideon, which Moff Gideon's like, well, this is interesting. It showed that Mando doesn't really know a lot about Mandalore, right? He doesn't,
outside of his little sect.
Right, outside of that extreme old school sect, right. He doesn't know a lot about Mandalore or the Mandalorian nation type of deal. If he did not know the greater significance of the Darksaber, which again obviously gets brought up of here's the Darksaber, she can't take it. She has to win it in combat. Fine, I yield here, and she cannot take it. That little on the bridge exchange was pretty interesting about the Darksaber. It's going to play into, obviously, I think, season 3.
He doesn't want anything to do with it, and now he could potentially rule Mandalore, and reluctantly so. So how does this play into, any sort of recovery strategy and being able to restore order? And meanwhile, Mando is like, I don't want this, and here we are.
Yeah, and
I'm okay with that plot line, honestly, even without Baby Yoda. I'm just going to say that. I'm just saying. So here we go. X-Wing shows up, and I'm thinking, it's just police doing their thing. It's nothing, right? It's nothing. And then, dark robes, Jedi. It's either Ahsoka, which I don't know why she's in an X-Wing. It's either Ahsoka or a Jedi that maybe we haven't seen yet. Okay, all right. Oh, wearing a glove. They're fucking with me, right? This is no. Okay. Oh, okay. Green saber. Yep. Here we go. Yep. I don't even. If it's not him at this point, they've just made me very angry. Why did they do all of this? I was somewhat in denial, but also, honestly, when I saw hand and green saber, I was like, if it's not Luke Skywalker, what are they doing to me?
Right. Clad in all black, glove on one hand, green lightsaber. That's pretty much how I figured it out as well. Takes care of the dark troopers like they're nothing. Which also then you think, at least I thought, well, Mando's got the Darksaber that can cut through anything. Ideally, he, if they came through the door, if he turned on that Darksaber, he could cut them up all as well. He obviously couldn't use the Force stuff, but he could take down quite a few with that Darksaber and the spear. Yeah. Hell, he could have tossed the spear to Bo-Katan, used the Darksaber, and the two of them could have wiped out at least a fair amount of the Dark Troopers on their own.
I can't believe your brain even went there. As soon as I was processing what was happening, I had pure tunnel vision just ripping through Dark Troopers, tunnel vision.
So, all right.
Here we go.
I like the fact it was Luke. Now, there are caveats. I like the fact it was Luke because I had previously pointed out that there shouldn't be that many Jedi left because they're all dead. They're all supposed to be dead, right? We know Ahsoka's alive.
You like Luke because of process of elimination? That was your...
No, I like Luke because it sticks with that storyline of there should be very few to almost no Jedi left. So if it's not Ahsoka that's going to train him, and it's going to be a Jedi, especially a Jedi Master, Luke is the most obvious choice unless you're going to try and claim some other Jedi Master has survived. So from that standpoint, I like that.
I'm going to just set the stage for you here. For those that are new to this channel, and I'm sure there are many of you, not many from quantity standpoint, just the fact that many of you watching that are actually watching are probably new based on the number of viewers we get on a episode by episode basis. Adam is, I don't have a term for him yet. We'll call him the professor in some ways. He likes to nitpick, and I don't want to say likes, he tends to, and we love him for it. I do as well in certain ways. Adam is going to now probably, and I'm not saying excessively, but probably start to pick this apart. And it's for your benefit. Everyone needs to learn something here. Let's build some character in our lives. Adam, go right ahead.
I thought his character was too stiff.
The performance?
Well, I mean, it's a deep fake, which I thought could have been done better because I've seen, it seems like YouTube deep fakes that were done better. I would have loved to have seen just the slightest bit of reaction to the fact that the Force user he's come to pick up looks like a baby Yoda.
Like a glint in the eye, a little bit of a smirk. Luke's kind of got a warmth in his reactions at times.
And it could have waited until R2 comes out and R2 starts doing his bleeping, and then R2 shrivels his head, turns his head over to Luke, beeps at him a bit, and, Luke just turns and says, yeah, I know. It could have been as simple as that. I would have loved to have seen just a little bit of acknowledgement from Luke that this is kind of a baby Yoda.
So you're saying instead of like I'm here, I've got my message, mission accomplished.
I got to stick up my ass the entire time I'm standing here.
He was a little stoic in his, and by the way, when the credits rolled and I actually saw it was Mark Hamill, I was like, oh. Okay.
Mark Hamill tweeted today, just simply saying, anyone see anything good today? That's all that's like all he tweeted. The other thing that, as you say, might be nitpicking, why did no one ask him his name?
Luke?
Mando said, "Are you a Jedi?" And Luke says, "Yes." You're giving the child that you care so much about. I would have asked for a name. Maybe, especially if you say, "I'm gonna see you again." I don't need to know the address, but at least to know who this is. So if I need to go searching for them, it's right. Well, he's a white guy with brown hair, wears a dark cloak, and he carries a green lightsaber. That's all I know about the guy. I mean...
That's fair. That is fair. I don't even know that I would call that nitpicking. I'm going to give you that.
It's possible Cara knows who he is because she was in the Civil War. So it's possible from Legend's standpoint, she's put 2 and 2 together and will tell Mando later. But as Mando, who has gone through such great lengths to get the child back and to protect the child, to hand the child over to someone without even wondering who their name is?
Yeah, I'm not saying I need a background check on you, my man, but
I would like to know if I have to go asking where I can find this Jedi. I would like to know a name.
It's really a fair point. I wasn't even focused on that because I was focused on the fact that it seemed like R2 really knew who Grogu was, which would make sense because he hasn't had his memory wiped up to this point, if I recall correctly. So he may actually have met Grogu before. He seemed a little chipper to have run into him. So R2 was kind of leading the performance in this scenario. I wouldn't expect Luke to necessarily know who Grogu was, but he felt him, I assume, when Grogu was beaming up to him. And yes, the similarity to Yoda and his species, you would expect a little bit of just even like a win, something.
I'm going to become the master of somebody who looks like a baby version of my master.
Right. And I want to bring this up, and I don't want to get too deep into what ifs here, but the reality is this: if we're sticking with canon in Disney's era of canon, it's this. We have to assume that Baby Yoda, Grogu, one of 2 things happened. One, he eventually goes back to Mando. Maybe it's season 3, season 4, who knows? 2, he sticks around with Luke, and we all know how that went in the sequel trilogy, because I assume Kylo would have just completely annihilated him.
Grogu has been, from a merchandise standpoint, the big merchandise totem of
and meme and
and everything of this show, right?
Right.
People like the other characters, but let's face it, it's all about Baby Yoda. I wonder if they might not do a time jump, because there's nothing that says that next season needs to pick up right where this left off. Maybe Luke has been training him for 5 years. Something happens that he needs to come get the child or something. Who knows? Or maybe child is reacting from a training standpoint that Luke feels it would be best to kind of reunite them because, hey, there's something going on with Grogu's personality. Who knows?
Yeah. And there's nothing to say Grogu actually becomes some sort of master Jedi. He could very well go through some sort of training and he not be meant for it, or him just not being a right fit for, like, on both ends. So
maybe he needs to age a little bit. Maybe he's just not old enough to truly be trained right now.
I could even picture a scenario where, you know, we are moving forward 5 years in the future and Mando's been depressed without his child and on drunken binges and taking shitty missions, and
they got to go through the Bo-Katan dark saber stuff. So they really do. They can't just have him go back to being a bounty hunter until they resolve that. I have one other nitpick to point out.
Oh boy. Go ahead. I'm welcoming it. I just want to voice the people watching this, and this is their voice.
It's not even not even a nitpick as much as is I acknowledge it's better this episode than last episode, which is he takes the helmet off and he's not so perfectly groomed. He's right. He's more stubble this time. Like, he just haven't shaved in a couple of days, as opposed to last episode where he was. And I went back and checked, and he was absolutely in the last episode better groomed. You know, as far as the mustache, like, trimmed and stuff like that, than this episode, which was definitely much more of I've got a 2 or 3 day stubble growth going on.
Oh, if you went back and checked, Adam, I hope you actually checked out our last review of the episode where I zoomed in clearly on that cleanly shaven face and scissor trim face. So check that out if you haven't already.
So
people.
Wasn't so much a nitpick as much as an observation based on our last episode.
You're right. Okay, I'm appreciating these nitpicks. This is a good nitpick episode for you, Adam. Congratulations. Now
it's not triggering you this time, thankfully.
Listen, before we get final thoughts, we have a few more points, of course, to go over, and two things I want to bring up, and feel free to bring up what you'd like along the way. One, I will say you brought up Mando taking off his helmet. That moment, to me, with him taking off the helmet and finally doing what we knew he was inevitably going to do at some point, and kind of that connection, it felt very. This is the past 2 seasons coming to. Not a close, but really coming full circle and bringing it all together in this moment. That was really cool. And maybe some people watch it and thought this is cheesy. This is fucking stupid. Whatever. Okay, fine. But I was very moved by that moment as a viewer, as an audience. I was entertained. I really did like that moment. That felt very significant and meaningful to me in everything that we've seen in the first 2 seasons of this show. I don't know if you felt the same way, Adam, but I certainly did.
I did. And I think last episode, him taking off the helmet, he had already kind of consigned himself when he took off the helmet last episode. To a certain extent, he's abandoned that principle, the old principle. I think we saw it a lot in this season, right? When he first talks to Bo-Katan, first time he meets her and he finds out that they take off their helmets and he's part of some sort of, more old sect of Mandalorian tradition, not really widespread Mandalorian ideal. And then we see in the last episode, he takes the helmet off and somebody who has seen him without the helmet off lives. And I think to a certain extent, besides the emotional impact of Grogu seeing him without his helmet on for the first time, and being able to see that emotion in his face that we wouldn't have gotten, obviously, if he'd left the helmet on. I think
from a puppet. That's what I love about Star Wars. Like a puppet gave us emotion.
Well, no, I'm saying the emotion in his own face. Like he was getting tears.
You're right. Of course, in Mando's too. But I mean, like all of it is what I'm trying to say.
I think we see the growth of him slowly abandoning that old sect ways for the more traditional Mandalorian, like the Bo-Katan
he's
ideal.
Transformed.
Right.
It's a transformative moment. And he wasn't doing it to save a life. He wasn't doing it because he had to. He did it to say goodbye. I thought that was about the best time you could have done it at this point after what we've seen from this season.
And it might come into play in a future episode where he runs into someone of that more traditional sect that says, has anyone seen your face? And he goes, yeah. He might get shunned in a future episode. So that might play even a bigger part between last episode and this episode. So, I was good with the helmet coming off. I think it was good character growth that we needed to see. What was the other point?
I was just gonna, before we give final thoughts overall, I wanted to talk about the mid-credit scene.
Before we get to that, there was the last part where we said we were going to get to it, which was, I'm sorry, the Luke deep fake.
Okay.
Disney could have done better. I've seen better deep fakes on YouTube.
Here's the weird thing. On YouTube, Disney, back in June or July, they were showing off their patents for all the deepfake technology they bought, and it looks incredible. I don't know what they're doing, and maybe it's a budget thing, which I know you're thinking the same thing as me. People with no budget are doing this, so I don't know what's. I get. At the end of the day, I will say this, and
if the camera was further away, it looked better. But as the camera was closer, it had like a fuzziness around the hair or something.
It's always in the for me, it's always in the eyes and the mouth and the expressions, the natural movements of the face. It's that. It's the difference between a cutscene in a video game and a real person talking to me. So it's, for the most part, I at least went through it going, I felt like this was Luke Skywalker. I'm not saying it was completely 100% yes, but it was enough for me to go, I'm on board, we're moving. This is a TV show, I get it. But I agree with you. Someone could have done this better, like from where we're sitting right now with their computer.
Was it the one channel, was it like Control Alt Shift or something like that? I mean, there are channels that are doing a better job of deep fakes than Disney, who owns ILM, and that boggles my mind. You know, I mean, they make these amazing LCD or LED screen studios they can't get this right. I don't understand.
They're still pushing technology forward, but somehow like people with the equivalent of like open source software are doing better than them in this arena. I agree with you. I don't get it. As you're watching this, or as we're saying this, even someone right now is probably already uploading a better version of Luke with their own deepfake technology from their house in their living room or their basement or whatever.
We'll get it, because I mean, if anyone has seen the video where someone had taken clips from the Han Solo movie and put Harrison Ford's face over it, that was done better, and in my opinion, in a lot of ways, than this Luke was. So yeah, I was disappointed in that. We had a mid-credit scene, which is obviously a throwback to Return of the Jedi. And we find out that there's going to be a Fett series next December.
Have they confirmed, is it a series, or is it like, are they basically calling the season 3 of Mandalorian that? I wasn't clear. I haven't read the news. I don't know. I'm asking.
According to one of the news articles, I only saw a glimpse of headlines because I was trying to avoid a lot of stuff before coming to this.
Right.
I'd seen it advertised as a series. Maybe they'll finally answer my questions about why he didn't get the armor from the sheriff up until Mando got it, or how he got out of the Sarlacc pit, or...
I heard that they watched your heavy criticism in one of our reviews and completely developed an entire series around your nitpicking.
It could be. I don't know if people really want to follow an older Boba Fett. I don't know. It could be a limited run series.
I do. I'm in.
It could be a limited run series. It might not be something that's going to be multi-season. It could be a one shot, like 8-episode thing, or 6
kind of like what they're planning on doing with Obi-Wan. That's kind of what I'm hoping, to be honest.
Me too.
Final thoughts on, if you want the whole season, this episode. I will say, listen, 2020 has been an insane year, and as much as Adam nitpicks on things, and I'm guilty of it as well, everything from plot holes, deep fake technology, all of it. Listen, I'm sitting here in December of 2020. I was stuck in my house for a period of time. I wasn't sure if I was going to be employed for a period of time. I was, worried about, my children and what it means for their futures, and heroes, legends around me sitting and being entertained by movies and music and everything were dying. We lost Sean Connery. Probably the biggest hit on me was the fact that Eddie Van Halen died. That was a big thing for me.
We lost the original actor of Boba Fett just recently.
We lost the original actor of Boba Fett this past week. It was a tough year, and the fact that I somehow in all of this no one I would assume while filming this series was realizing what it would mean, but warts and all, we got to see Luke Skywalker tear through a hallway of dark troopers, similar to what we saw with Vader in Rogue One, and X-wing and all, and R2D2 and all of it. I mean, it was I don't know. Maybe I'll look back on it. I want to say that I'll look back on it and say that this was a big year in a lot of ways with entertainment, and this was a big way for Star Wars, a big moment for Star Wars universe, and maybe transitional for the Star Wars and the Disney ownership of Star Wars. Whatever it comes out of it, I don't know that I care. I just know that I got to fanboy a little bit out, and I appreciate that. And sure, we can nitpick, and we have a right to do that. That's great, but at the end of the day, this could have been so much worse. I'm glad that it ended the way that it did, and we got a little bit of fun out of it. I don't know what's going to come out of it, but where I'm sitting right now, I'm satisfied.
I think the pacing, one of my issues with the first season was pacing. I think the pacing was done a lot better. I felt like this season kept your attention a whole lot better. I think it took you more places than last season did. I didn't feel as many of the overdone storyline tropes that I felt like the first season had. I liked the first season on the aspect of there wasn't a bunch of familiar faces in it. So for me, I would have liked to have seen less of the bringing characters from previous Star Wars properties. I would have liked to have seen, maybe some more new characters that are brand new. I would have liked to have seen a little bit better writing. Again, that episode where we get the Boba Fett reveal, I felt like that was such shoddy writing, and that I'd like a little bit more depth in this series. I'd say this season was better than last season. But I think if I look back on 2019, it won't necessarily be one of my favorite shows of the year, but I definitely like it. 2020, sorry. 2020, whatever. If I look back on 2020, I don't know that it will necessarily be one of my favorite shows of the year, but it was still an improvement over last year. I'm interested to see where they go next year. Obviously, he's without a ship, and he's now kind of head of the Mandalorians. So let's see where they go with it. I don't know that they can go a whole season without Grogu, but I will say it was an improvement over last season. So hopefully third season's an improvement over second. But I didn't hate the season, and I don't hate the series. I had my disappointments in it, but it's still, I'm still gonna check out third season when it comes out.
With that, this is It Takes Two Takes. You know what to do.
See ya.